In this tutorial, we're going to check out what's new in Elementor 3.1 beta, released yesterday, maybe today, not quite sure, but released very recently. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below this video. I try to answer them the best I can. My name is Bjorn Allpass in WP Learn Lab. We help you get better at WordPress so you can earn more for yourself, for your customers, and for your business. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. Now let's check out what's available in Elementor 3.1 beta. Here are the release notes for Elementor 3.1 beta, and here are the new features we are looking at. Custom code feature, which allows us to add custom code to our site, like analytics code, Facebook pixels, Google Tag Manager, things like that. Code highlight widget, which allows us to put code directly onto a page that people can copy. This use case is pretty limited. Not everybody's got a website with code on it to be copied and used by other people. This custom code feature would be used by everybody. I don't see why you wouldn't use that. And there's an improved asset loading experiment, which basically means that Elementor will be now loading widgets individually instead of all of them. So hopefully that'll improve load times. We'll test that out in just a minute. And animated headline improvements, and that's it. Now if you scroll down, it describes what they all are, all the improvements. You can get to this page via a link in the description down below. Let's pop into a page, Elementor page. I made one right here. Super simple. This has a heading and a form. And we can add our new code highlight widget. Just drag and drop that right in there. We can just paste some code into here, just a regular HTML link, and that is code on a website. This can now be copied by a visitor that comes to your website, and hopefully you can use this code for something amazing if you have this copy to clipboard option turned on, and you can also customize it quite a bit. We can change the language. By default, it pops JavaScript in here, at least it does for me. I'm going to click on X, and I'm going to choose HTML, because this is HTML code. You also can choose from lots and lots. I don't know if this is every kind of code that exists, but that is a lot of different code bases, code types, coding languages to choose from, a lot. So HTML is what this is. So I picked that, and what it basically does is it changes the highlighting of the code. So you see the A is purple, the A is purple, href is green, the link is blue. If I change this to JavaScript, where it was before, it has just the link as being green. If I change this to CSS, makes the link brown. Go to HTML, and it highlights everything properly. So you gotta choose the correct language up here that matches whatever code you're pasting into the box. If you have multiple lines, you can show line numbers or not. You can have inline colors. You can have things highlighted. We only have one line right now, so if I enter the number 1, it highlights that whole line. You can also add multiple lines if you want. You can change the theme, which is basically the styling of the code widget, and you can change the height. And then if we update this and we view this page live, we see we have a copy button in the top right, and that allows people to copy it to the clipboard, and they can just paste it wherever they want. Let's paste it right up here. And here's the code, and that's the code widget. Like I said, this isn't for everybody, but it is a nice little widget for people who have code on their websites. And if you're finding this tutorial helpful, click the like button, because that helps this video show up for more people on YouTube so we can spread the knowledge and help more people with this information. So make sure you click like if you like this video. Next, we have improvements to the animated headline. We'll get to the loading in just a second. Here's the animated headline section of the release notes on GitHub, and they added timing options, loop options, selecting a color for typing effect, added dynamic capabilities to the rotating text animation, and an overflow fix, and you can test those out on your own. I don't use animated headlines very much, and just the basics that there were before worked just fine for me, but now we have a bunch more options available to us. Next, let's check out the custom code, which is described at the very top of this page right here, adding custom code to Elementor. Right now this is in beta, so you don't have these things yet unless you're using a beta version. If you do install the beta version, if you go to Elementor, there's a new custom code link right here. If you click on that, click on Add New Custom Code. We add it in here, say Google Analytics. You paste the code in here and make sure you have it in the right location. For the case of analytics code, you want to have it at the start of the body. You can also put it at the end, either of them work. I just like to have it at the beginning because then it loads sooner on the page. I don't recall whether Google Analytics says to put it at the top or not, but you can choose either, they both work. And you can choose a loading priority. So if you have 5 different pieces of code that load at the beginning of the body, the priority determines which one will load first of those. Then we'll click Publish, and we can now conditionally choose where this code appears. Google Analytics code should appear all over your site. But if you have code that should go in specific places, you just put it in those specific places. I recently made a video showing you how to basically get rid of snippets plugins, and this does the same thing. So if you use Elementor, you no longer need any kind of snippet plugin. You can just use the Elementor custom code section once it's released. It's still in beta, but it'll be released pretty soon. And you can just use this. So I'm going to choose the entire site for the analytics code. And you can also put Google Tag Manager code in here. Google Tag Manager will require 2 locations. So when you're adding Tag Manager, there's a part that goes in the head. You paste that part here. Then you make a new custom code section and paste the second part at the start of the body. And I've got a video that details how to do that. Link to that in the card up above in the description down below if you want to add Google Tag Manager. And if you do that, then you can actually just add the Google Tag Manager code to Elementor and do all the widgets through Tag Manager, which ends up being a lot simpler, and you can do a lot more advanced stuff through Tag Manager. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, faster load times with Elementor. Where is that section? See if we can't click on it. Okay, let's scroll, and here it is right here. Improved asset loading. Essentially what it's going to do with the new version, as long as you have a specific option turned on, is it's going to load widgets individually only if they're on the page. And these are the widgets that are included in this list. I'm sure they'll expand to all of them in the future. But these widgets, if you have them on your page, specific JavaScript code just for the widget will be loaded. And that will help with load times. And I said this has to be turned on specifically, and that is in Elementor settings and then experiments. You have to turn on the improved asset loading. I'm just going to keep this off for a moment, and I'm going to go to the front end and I'll show you what's going to happen when it's off. So I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to open the inspector, go to network, refresh again, and I'm going to search for preload. And this is what's going to be loading if you have that experiment turned off. And it is quite a big file, 156 kilobytes and 37.3 kilobytes. Those two together are going to be loading. And I think that includes all of the JavaScript for all of the widgets. And I've run a performance test on the specific page with the current settings, not with the improved speed settings. And the results we got are not impressive because this site is not speed optimized at all. So the page speed is not great. 14 for mobile, 52 for desktop. In a future video, probably going to be released next week, I'll show you how I improve these numbers pretty simply on SiteGround. And for GTmetrix, if we go to the waterfall tab, we can actually look up those elements. We've got the preloaded right here, a little smaller in file size than we saw on the website itself, but those are being loaded right now. And now if we go into here, choose active, click save changes, you notice this says status alpha right here. That's even before beta. So beta is when the public starts testing, like you and me, we can install beta versions and test them. Alpha is before the general public can even test it. So this is very much still in production. But now if I come out here and refresh, that preload JavaScript should no longer be there. That's not there. And in the release notes, it shows us how to find the improved versions. So the improved versions will have a file name similar to this. So I added a form to the page, so it should have form.hash.bundle.min.js. So if I just search for form in here, if I could spell, there we go. There's form.the hashtag.bundle.min.js. And it is only 25.9 kilobytes, which is much smaller than what we were loading earlier. So let's test this page speed again. I don't expect too much of an improvement because this page is kind of slow as it is. But if you are focused on improving page speed and you want to use Elementor, this is a great development. And like I said, in another tutorial, probably next week, I'll show you how I improve my page speed, and then we'll test this again with Elementor specifically to see if it, on a fast website, if it affects the speed at all. So this is from 14 up to 18 and from 52 up to 67. It's hard to tell whether that was really the Elementor change that did that because there is some variation. When you test from 1 minute to the next, there'll be speed differences. But under or in GT metrics, if we go to the waterfall, we can search for preload that we had earlier, not there. And we can search for form dot, and there's the hashtag for the form, and that is the code for the form. Now what occurs to me, didn't occur to me a minute ago, what occurs to me now is this is 25 kilobytes. And the previous one, the preloaded elements, is 150 and 36, so 188 kilobytes in total for both of those. And I assume this is for all the widgets being loaded, even when they're not used on the page. So if we are loading just as one widget, because that's all there is on the page, it's 25 kilobytes, that's great. But what if we load 15 different widgets? What happens then? So if we were to add, let's see which ones are included. The post archive, search form, posts, portfolio. Just add those to the page. Posts, portfolio, and search, and gallery. Not going to put anything into these besides this, what's already there as a demo. Update that. I refresh the page out here. We should have a bunch more things now. So if we search for form, we still have our form being added. Now I'm going to search for bundle.min.js. Bundle.min.js. We see all these guys are now loaded separately. And looking at the file sizes, they actually are quite small. Like this one's only 12 bytes. The code highlight is 12 bytes. This one's 2 kilobytes. Okay, so that's not so bad. The reason I was bringing this up was I was thinking every one of these would be 25 kilobytes, and then that would add up to more than this total pretty quickly if they're all 25 kilobytes. But if they're all this small, as we see here, 12 bytes, 1.2, or 2.1, 8.1, 3.5, that's pretty small. So that would definitely improve load time. So if I run this again, just really quick, and then go over to the waterfall, and then search for bundle.min, we see them all here, and they are quite small. So these took a total of 3 seconds to load. And before, with these preloaders, it took 3.3 seconds. So not much difference, especially when you have a lot of widgets. Like you might have even more widgets than this on a page. But if you have just a contact form page that has just a contact form, then speed improvement should be pretty substantial. But if you have a lot of widgets on a page, it might not be any speed savings at all. But either way, it is an improvement that they're loading just what you need to the page, and hopefully they'll work on more speed improvements as time goes on. If you want to check out the release notes, go to this page. I've linked to it down below. And lastly, if you're going to check out the beta version of Elementor, make sure that you do it locally or on a staging site. Don't do it on your production site. This version actually had a note on the update button that said there's major changes to this plugin. So make sure you back up your junk, or you do it locally, or you do it on a staging site, because something might go wrong. And if you don't have Elementor Pro yet, there's a link to it in the description down below. It is an affiliate link. Buying through that link does not make it more expensive. It just means that they share a portion of the revenue with me, which helps me keep making these videos for you. And if you already use Elementor or you want to know more about it before you try it out, check out this playlist right up here where it shows you all kinds of stuff to do with Elementor free. And this one down here shows you all kinds of stuff to do with Elementor Pro. Check out those two playlists. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to click subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. My name is Bjorn Allpass in WP Learning Lab. Until next time, keep crushing it, and I will see you in the next video.